discussion and for collaboration between students. You want there to be some students who are sparks, and I'll use a quote called, but the term means that maybe a student who somehow lights knowledge into the classroom, will bring in an idea that everyone wants to hear. Other students who really don't talk very much. So if you've got 5 or 6 students, it's way too low. So 10 to 15 is ideal, but I couldn't answer that question. I'd have to know the teacher, I'd have to know the community, I'd have to know the limits of the school and what they could work with. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Another challenge I face is when you talked about breaking students up into groups. For example, the memory card game. For children who are 11, 12 years of age or older, that sort of turns into a chatting session kind of a thing. How would you address that?
Very clear expectations before you begin. As I did with the gentlemen who were with the fly swatters, before I even handed it to them, I should make very clear how they're to use them, why they have them, and let them know, I'm kind of just trying this out. If it goes really well, we might do it every other week. So very clear expectations. When you're here, you'll have 5 minutes. This is the goal. I would like you to be able to match 3 prophets with their mission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'd like you to do it in the 5 minutes, and I'd like one of you to report back to the class how you did. So always, before you hand any toy, any potential toy, because anything could be a potential toy, you always give very clear guidelines as to what your expectations are. And if it still doesn't work, you don't have to say, well, we're never going to do that again. You just never do it again. And then in about a month they say, can we do that again? And you say, well, I'm sorry, I tried it last time and it didn't go well. And they say, oh, but we'll be really good this time. And then that's where your judgment comes in. Do you believe them? Do you think you should try it again? Or do you think this is not the class for it? I have things that I do with my 1st period class that I wouldn't dare do with my 4th period class, because the 4th period class is really immature. Just the dynamics of the classroom. I have 3 boys in that classroom, and they changed the dynamics of the 20-student class. And I could not do some of the things that I do for my 1st period class. It's just the reality of teaching. You wish you could do it with everybody, but you can't.
Thank you, sister, for doing a great job, mashallah. You're a source of inspiration for all of us here. And I do want to take a minute to congratulate the organizers of this event who really have put their time and effort into this. It's a great effort from those organizers, inshallah. On a separate note, we are trying to implement some kind of ACT preparation classes here for the students in Sunday school who are going to high school in their regular classes. And I wanted to share with you, if you have any experience in running those ACT classes. In fact, in the later part of your lecture, you did mention names of 4 or 5 sisters. If we would have known that, the organizers of the ACT program would have known, we could have approached them earlier. It's still not too late, but is it possible to hook up with those folks? But first, let's see what kind of experience you can relate with the ACT preparation classes, if any.
Mm-hmm. Many times, one of the challenges that our Muslim communities, we want to try so many different things, and we keep thinking that we have to reinvent the wheel for each of these situations, when we really don't. There's a lot of resources already available to us. If you are going to be charging a nominal fee for your ACT class, you could simply go to Kaplan or Sylvan or some of the other programs and say, could you be our outsourcing point? We will give you the opportunity to come to our masjid, have the class at our masjid, but the students will pay you and we'll get a small donation to us. So if your objective is to offer the service, go ahead and outsource it to someone who's an expert in this field. If your objective is to raise money, then yes, you should do it in-house, because you will have to pay whoever comes in. In terms of in our community, there's many high school teachers who tutor on the side or who do ACT prep on the side. So if you send me an email asking for that, I'll give you a couple of names, and if they can't do it, maybe they know a couple of names. But please don't be afraid to outsource or provide opportunities. Mad Science, which is the science program, will do things maybe after school on a Sunday if you wanted to continue offering opportunities. And your Aqidah class has to do with Allah's scientific world and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this world and said, go gain knowledge in science. You'll find that nothing contradicts what I have said in the Quran. Then you could say for this 1 month, every Sunday you'll have a Mad Science program, which is a company that comes in and provides this opportunity. And even if you get 10 students and it pays for itself, then you've provided an opportunity which you don't have to do yourself because we don't have the expertise to do it. So please don't be afraid to outsource. And don't always reinvent the wheel because there's opportunities out there.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have
Go ahead.
Is this the only teachers training package that you have, this 1.5 hours, or do you have something more intensive that we can use here?
You know, I just recently have been suddenly approached by all these different organizations to do this. And Nassim and I have been doing ones for kindergarten through 5th grade, more intensive towards those grade levels. So what we can do, like I said, if you tell me what you need in the feedback forms, we can absolutely focus on that. I mean, remember, in my 15 years of teaching, I've been trained in a lot of different ways. We could pass that on in many different ways. So are there intensive programs we can do? Absolutely. Right now, actually, I've given this one to no one else. I've tweaked it for yours because the one you saw at CIGC was different because Sohail Bhai told me what your group needed here. I hope we met the needs that your group needed here. We designed it for I asked questions like, what type of other programs have they had in the last 3 years for teachers here? What do you see as the most challenging part of teaching at this Sunday school in particular? What are the successes? Because if there's a success, I do want to mention it's a success, but I don't want to hone in on it and stress it too much because we can move on and cover other topics. So based on the questions and answers that we talked about in our discussion, we came up with this workshop. Based on your feedback forms, we'll come up for the one in August. And I think at that point we do need to break it up into smaller groups so that it is more collaborative and less,
More targeted.
speaker-centered.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but I felt really deficient today. I'm the first generation teacher here, and I see that there is a certain important dynamics that are missing in my class. And I'm unable to do it. As a matter of fact, I've lost some qualities over the time, so I need to regain them. And so I really need to learn.
Sure. But if you take nothing else out of this, please don't take a sense of feeling that you're not capable of this, or if you're not worthy of this. Because if we don't do it, who will? Do you see any other parents stepping up and volunteering? Do you see anybody else? If Mahmoud uncle hadn't spent hours and hours and hours 25 years ago, who would have done it? So don't think what you're doing is a waste of time, the students' time or your time. Don't think it's not valuable. It is greatly valuable.